With Super Mario Bros. Wonder simply brimming with creativity and highly detailed animations, it's left people asking a lot of questions about the new Super Mario Bros. Games. Especially new Super Mario Bros. U, the previous 2D Mario platformer for the Wii U that was eventually ported to Switch as New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. The main question being, is U even worth playing at this point, especially if Wonder just blows it out of the water and Nintendo is still charging basically the same price for either product? Well, it might seem easy to say initially. Of course, Wonder looks and plays simply brilliantly. It's the, ironically, newer product that has a lot to show for itself in the marketplace of 2D platformers. But what does, alternatively, U offer? Well, considering it was originally released in 2013 and in the new Super Mario Bros. Franchise, it may at first seem bland and uninspired when compared to a game like Wonder, released literally 10 years later. You can just really tell that the games are made with different standards when compared to each other. That being said, I personally still believe that U has a lot going for it, despite it being a launch game for the Wii U. As other critics have already pointed out, they're both still Mario games and do many similar things. The core 2D Mario game design philosophy that really took off with Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World remains strong and present regardless of whichever game you pick. You play as Mario or other characters and adventure through levels, collecting special coins and eventually getting to a flagpole at the end, wherein which the next level is made available to play. New Super Mario Bros. U has its own bells and whistles of continuing the tried and true Mario formula, even if it doesn't look like that compared to Wonder. Even going beyond the new Super Mario Bros. Franchise editions, U has many unique inclusions that we have only so far seen in its release. The flying squirrel suit is probably the most obvious addition, but there's others too. Toad houses have unique minigames for acquiring power-ups in between levels, and they're hit and miss. The main campaign has a pretty large and sprawling world map, with secret exits to reach different worlds and the ability to skip entire worlds also being present. Similar to Super Mario World, but also kinda lacking a bit of that original personality that World offers. It's a step up over world maps from the previous new Super Mario Bros. Titles, but not that much of a step up. When talking about U Deluxe, it's also important to note how it has all the DLC content from the Wii U version packaged in, like New Super Luigi U, which is a brilliant challenge mode with unique controls for Luigi along with shortened time limits for each level. If you find the main campaign too easy, this mode is right up your alley. We also can't forget about the litany of challenge levels packed in, which do range from easy to infuriatingly hard. Many of these challenges are actually quite fun, like this one where you can't touch the ground with the flying squirrel suit. In these secondary modes, you can play as a Mii as well, which is a fun touch, though it adds really nothing beyond aesthetics. Speaking of aesthetics though, there's gorgeous visual elements in levels, like different kinds of moving backgrounds and various other vibrant elements. The pointed mountains and acorn fields subtly directing the player or players forward is a nice touch, and different than the usual look of a World 1 in a Mario 2D platformer. The Aurora Borealis and Frosted Glacier looks awesome and organically moves around and behind the other layers of detail. The level from Soda Jungle with what looks like a Van Gogh-inspired painted background looks particularly beautiful. You almost wish there was more levels with this flowing painted art style through the main campaign. Would love to see some Monet-inspired levels or something like that. Walls and objects within castle levels have a nice color palette and feel dense, but also uniquely crafted. The patterns just feel really nice, without taking away from the main focus of the player being Mario and the enemies and obstacles in Mario's way. In general, all the textures for things feel quite organic while still not being super distracting. That layer cake approach to building environments just feels really right in this one. I mean, after all, it was originally sold as the first HD Mario game. Considering the game is over 10 years old, that does make it fairly impressive that it still looks pretty good. However, that being said, if one was to up-res the gameplay from New Super Mario Bros. Wii, you might have some trouble discerning which game from which. I mean, heck, the animations of both Mario and Luigi as well as the Toads look nearly identical to Wii. It just kind of cheapens the experience a bit. And that definitely wouldn't happen if the same comparison was to be made with Super Mario Wonder. I suppose though that these are the consequences of Nintendo deciding to run with the New Super Mario Bros. Franchise standards for so long. While its visual style was initially a fun play on nostalgic design meeting modern aesthetics in the Nintendo DS original, by the time New Super Mario Bros. 2 and U came out, it had worn out its welcome somewhat. Not to say the games were ever unsuccessful, obviously they weren't, but from the perspective of many franchise fans, it just wasn't exactly doing enough quote-unquote new to justify the full retail priced sequels. Thus, Super Mario Bros. Wonder comes in to inject a new style and gameplay standard of creativity, making the so-called new games look even more boring and, ironically, old. But again, the games are still very much decent Mario platformers and still high quality products. And I will admit that the one area U Deluxe has over Wonder, not just in overall having more content, is in its boss fights. Sure, they're the Koopalings, which we already had in Wii, but they're still better than the even less creative boss fights of Wonder. It's just wild when a company outdoes itself so much that it makes the previous games feel dull and lifeless in comparison. While one could definitely say that New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is still worth playing, if the choice is between U Deluxe and Wonder, the correct choice is Wonder. However, if you simply want more 2D Mario and are willing to play what might feel like a downgrade of a game, U Deluxe is still very much a worthwhile game to play. Just might not be as deluxe as it says.